Good evening and welcome to the first interview of the 2025-26 Central Riverhawks, not Red Raiders, Riverhawks. That's an inside joke between Coach Olson and I. For the athletic year, I am so pumped to be back on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. I am Joel McCall, and as you can see, we are going to talk with Mitch Olson, the head coach for the Central Riverhawks football team in his fifth year, I believe, Coach. That's what I had written down. So is this your fifth year? And thank you for joining me as always.
That sounds right to me. Time goes by fast, but I missed you, Joel. It's good to see you and be talking to you again.
Our fireside chat, although there is no fire being burned tonight anywhere at our house or yours, I don't think, anyway.
No fires here.
No, you had to take care of water earlier off the air, so that's good. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. I do want to get to, first of all, just tell us a little bit about what has transpired for the Central Riverhawk football team since last season to now, leading up with camps, practices. How are things going early on?
Yeah, things have gone really well. It was a much different offseason in years past. In addition to a really strong strength and conditioning program for all of our athletes at Central, the WIA now allowed contact days for all sports. Previously, we were limited to 5 days, and now it's wide open. I think there's schools that went dang near every day after kids got done with their workouts. We chose to go 2 days a week for 6 weeks throughout the summer, and really just gave us an opportunity to spend some more time working with our athletes. And it's a little bit of a delicate situation because you have to be sure that you don't push too hard and they're not there too long and they have other sports that they're playing and they're still kids and a lot of them are working jobs. But I really enjoyed it. I think we really saw it as a positive change. So it's kind of like football's almost been going since June, really, it seems like. But just happy to be through camp. We had a pretty good camp. Now we're ready for week 1 of the season.
Yeah, as you said, there's that fine balance. Yes, it is nice to have all that extra time, but you also don't want to wear the kids out so early. How about your numbers? How's the number situation for across the board from freshman, JV, varsity? Are you up this year? And then I'm going to ask you one other question about your coaching staff too in a little bit. But how about your numbers?
Yeah, we're right around the same as last year. I think we have 84 registered. And that number is always going to fluctuate a little bit. Kids coming to high school for the first time that maybe haven't played football in the past, especially freshmen. It always seems like you end up adding some throughout the season. I think 90 to 100 is a really strong number for us. Anytime you can get right around near 20% of the male population in your school, that's really a sign that you have real strong numbers for your football program.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's great numbers then. And your coaching staff, do you have any changes? Pretty much everybody back?
Pretty much everybody's back. Everybody that coached last year is back, and then we've had some others join us too. Nate Wilcher just got done playing at UWL. He's going to student teach with me in the Phi Ed department at Central. He's helping out with our D-line. Brett Davis is coaching freshman football for us. He's actually a Holman grad, so it's really nice to steal him from them. And then Isaiah Walker is just joined us. Really talented kid that is a really, really high football IQ. He's going to help out with our freshman team too. So really like where we're at. We have a really strong coaching staff. We're really fortunate. A lot of schools have a lot of coaching staff turnover year after year, and that's not something that we really have to worry about at Central. And I'm just really thankful for that our coaches are really dedicated and they love it, and they're back to do it year after year.
Yeah, that's fantastic then, because as you said, if you start getting new, then you have to change things up too, or try to get everybody on your path and what you're looking for. I know that there is a lot of players that graduated last year. You had a very large class of seniors that went off, and and hopefully are doing great things now that they're heading into either college or whatever their path that they chose. Is there a youth movement this year a little bit for the Central Riverhawks when it comes to the varsity side?
A little bit, yeah. When you look at that class, there was a lot of experience within that class, especially up front on the line. A lot of those kids started or really played significant minutes for 3 years. And we took our lumps a little bit when they were sophomores. There's a big physical maturity difference between a 15, 16-year-old and a 17, 18-year-old. So, we felt that a little bit then. But I think they were better off for it. And, as far as, the number of reps that a lot of those guys took, especially on the offensive and defensive line, it's going to be difficult to replace that, but we feel really good about a lot of guys that we have in right now. I think it's a group that has a really good work ethic, and really gets after it and just has the right attitude about everything.
Well, that's the most important thing is the attitude, being coachable too. And as you said, especially up front, I've covered you guys for the last couple of years. I got to watch that growth on that offense and defensive line. I know you did have some scrimmages last week, Coach Olson. I think those took place Friday, if I remember right, and it wasn't in the morning. I think everything got moved up or whatever. I'm not sure if that was the case. As always, it was going to be in the morning. But how did scrimmages go? Did the team kind of show you some things that surprised you?
I think just the just the way that a lot of the guys competed. Obviously there's growing pains. There's a lot of growing pains. But a lot of that stuff you can fix. It's X's and O's we can get cleaned up. Fundamentals we can get cleaned up. Just players' work ethic and attitude. That is the biggest thing, and luckily that's something that we really haven't had to be too worried about with our guys. They're really eager to learn. They really want to be good football players and have a successful football season. So it's a fun group to coach.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I know. I did see. I think Coach Colburn said on one of his tweets I got to see is somebody had asked about wins. Who won your scrimmage? And I think he said 0 injuries. That's the best win we could hope for. So I know that was a very important part of last Friday is no injuries from those scrimmages. And now we have to start talking about Thursday. So already the Central Riverhawks will start their regular season this Thursday night at UWL, and they will host a D1 juggernaut in Waunakee. Now, we know that they are good, Coach. I'm sure they're going to be good again this year. How are you guys preparing, and what do you know about them from last year?
Yeah, they're a team that they graduated a ton too, but they're also, traditionally a team that reloads every single year. They're just very, very technically sound in everything that they do. When you put on tape and you're trying to teach like inside zone, not something we run, but something that they do and they do really well. It's just like it's their scrimmage, and it's like they look like a college football team when they're running it, just because everything is so sound and. Like when they take their steps for their own steps, it's like everything is in unison. So they're just extremely well coached. Those kids have all been doing that for a long, long time in their program. They know what they're doing and they do it the right way. So we're excited for that. They've got not a lot of new players on their roster, but we're excited to compete and see where we're at.
It really is, a little bit of, I don't want to say a stepping stone in the right direction, but it is somebody that you can mirror and look at and say, like you said, it is somebody that even at scrimmages, they're already in almost full season mode. And hopefully that is something that you can build off of, regardless of what happens on Thursday night. This is definitely the learning experience. I think that's kind of why you guys set this up as far as scheduling goes, because I know that they were looking for an opponent, and that's when you guys came calling. I believe that's how this all set up, if I'm remembering correctly. So You know that I'm going to ask you one question. I guess I got to ask you keys, coach. So, first week of the season, I know you're going to talk about turnovers, but how about
Yeah.
something else?
Well, it always comes down to the turnovers, Joe. You got to take the
I
ball
know.
away, and you got to take care of the ball. You can't turn the ball over. And a lot of times, that is always the biggest thing. But we need to be able to handle their run game. I think that you know they have a very good line. We know that it starts there. It starts up front. And then if we can keep that in check, we can't let them get the ball to athletes out in space, and they've got a lot of good athletes back too. A tight end that was really good for them last year as a sophomore. Um, there's a Bacon kid that played a little bit against us last year, and it looks like towards the end of the year was playing really well for them. So, they're going to be balanced and they're going to be very good. Defensively, they're very physical, they're very aggressive. So we need to not let their pressure get to us, and then we need to capitalize on some big plays.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's one thing that I think when I went back, I watched some of those games from last year, early on in the season, and definitely the offense got so much better later on in the year. Bringing Jude back certainly helped a lot. But that was one thing I think Nami and I thought about was the lack of big plays, and then going back and watching those early games from the season, kind of similar. I thought the same thing, but so I'm kind of glad that you brought that up too. And we're looking forward to it at UWL then 7 o'clock Thursday night. Nami and I will be on the call for that. I know last year I think he missed the first game of the year because he had to do public address announcing on the other side. But this year we will be back full strength up in the booth for football Thursday night instead of Friday. Coach, I know that you last year did like to throw out a question to me. I do
Yep.
know that I'm running out of time on my Zoom too, so we're going to have to get to this quickly. So I make sure that I save this video so we can get it up as quickly as possible. But do you have something to throw out at me this time?
Joel, I missed you all summer long. And I was just thinking, gosh, I wonder what Joel's up to. But I
Oh,
was hoping you
I'm
could just
sure.
share with us your favorite summer memory that you had.
Oh, that's a tough one, coach. I really don't have something. I guess going to Adventureland. We used to go about yearly. Adventureland is a amusement park in Des Moines, and my mom and my brother and I used to go there about every summer for a span of I'd say 4 or 5 years, and then that kind of stopped after my brother graduated high school. So it was just my mom and I, so we didn't really go very much. But we did go one time afterwards, and I will tell you that there was a wooden roller coaster at the Adventureland, and it started to rain. And we got onto the roller coaster as it was kind of starting to rain, and they sent us, and we went around this roller coaster called the Outlaw, and we got to the very end, and the brakes skipped just a hair, and so it wasn't perfectly lined up with the gate. They sent us again, so we got to ride it twice without going back through the line. It did it a second time where we skipped the gate just enough. We rode it 3 times in a row. Then they kicked us off and said they had to do maintenance. So that is one thing that I do remember about going to Adventureland. I rode a roller coaster 3 straight times, never had to get off of it. So I would say the trips to Adventureland were always fun.
That's great. Did you bring the kids along, or you just go solo mission for yourself?
Well, that was when I was a kid. Uh,
Okay,
that was
gotcha.
when I was growing up with my mom. So uh, we haven't had a big adventure with the kids. We did go to the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo. No plug for that, I guess. They don't pay you the bills, but it is a wonderful zoo. And I do recommend anyone going there. It's usually rated like 1 or 2. And we did go there this year, and the kids absolutely loved it. And it is an incredible zoo. So I do recommend anybody going to that and in Omaha, Nebraska. But and we've done that twice now since Owen's been born, and I love it because it is something that I grew up upon too. Because we only lived an hour away from it, and it is the baby elephants. They've had some baby elephants there every single time we've gone. So that's
Yeah,
my favorite animal.
elephants. They're
Hmm.
cute. Yeah,
They are.
especially when they're little. When they're little, I
Yes,
guess really cute.
they're
Scary
amazing.
when they're big, but beautiful. But scary.
True, true, and they got to feed a giraffe this year. So
Oh
they got
shoot.
yeah. So I mean, you had to pay extra for that though, Coach. They're not going to let you just walk up there and hand it to him. You got to throw him another $5 for that, but
Oh
still
gosh.
worth it for the memory. Uh,
Yeah,
well, I'm
absolutely.
certainly looking forward to making memories this year for the football team, and being a part of the broadcast here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. Nami and I just went through the schedule today. We will do 8 to 9 football games. There's one in question there, but we hope to make them all. Several boys soccer games. I believe we have 13 volleyball matches planned for this year too, including the Onalaska tournament. We will be doing that again starting next week. So that is coming up. We'll have more interviews next week too, and Coach Olson and I will chat. Our fireside chat, as he called it last year, we'll be doing this every single week throughout the entire regular season and even into the postseason for the Riverhawks. So thank you, Coach Olson. Best of luck to you and the boys coming up on Thursday night. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Joel. Great seeing you.
You bet. All right. Thank you for tuning in here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel.